So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the 12th Parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. Last year, when we first started the World Teen Parliament, or the first World Teen Parliament came into existence, nearly 72,000 teenagers applied to become a member of Parliament of the World Teen Parliament. Out of them, there was a rigorous voting process that went on for around 2 or 3 months for participation, and live voting of nearly 15 days. And the current 100 MPs got into power. They became the first teen members of Parliament of the World Teen Parliament. The current 100 MPs that you see in front of you are the ones who secured a total of 235,000 votes, direct votes, to become a part of the World Teen Parliament. And since last 1 year, these teenagers have been working on varied issues of social, economic, and impact-related issues that they sorted would be important and are important for teenagers across the world, whether it's teen mental health, whether it's education, on varied topics and varied issues. They have talked with amazing leaders from across the world who have shared their time on this platform, the World Teen Parliament. Today also we have with us an amazing guest who will be sharing his experience with these teen MPs. But before we go into the conversation, this is the last parliamentary session for the first World Teen Parliament. On 22nd of January 2023, the next 100 teenagers will come into power as the members of Parliament, and we'll have the first parliamentary session for the second World Teen Parliament. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We have an amazing guest with us today who will be sharing his superb experience with all of these teenagers, that how does it actually feel to be somebody with Indian origin and being a representative of people of Canada. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining for the 12th parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. Let me welcome the guest for today to initiate this session, and then we'll go into the question answer round with all the teen MPs. A very warm welcome to MP Chandra Arya, the Member of Parliament for Nepean of Canada. He's a member of the House of Commons of Canada. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being here with us. Over to you for the opening address and initiating this parliamentary session.
Thank you, Mr. Gaur, for this invitation and for this wonderful initiative that you have started bringing in teenagers into the world of politics. Politics, sometimes people misthink that it is a dirty fight among politicians, but it is the politics that actually manages various countries across the world. How a society is governed, how a society manages itself, how a country progresses, or the policies of any country is all decided in this world of politics. And I'm so glad to see so many teenagers who are interested in understanding the various issues that face them, their country, and the world together, and to deal with that. This interest from teenagers has become so important in this world today. Before I continue, how many minutes I can talk?
So it's actually up to you, and then it's a Q&A with these teenagers. So you can go up to
Good.
5 minutes and then.
Good. I also prefer the same thing. I want to talk less. I want to listen to your questions, and so that I can understand what is your expectation, what is the thing that you want to hear from me, and I can address that. So coming back to the thing, the world is changing quite fast, not just the geopolitics of it, but in terms of the climate change, in terms of the conflicts, which we thought ended with World War II, it has come back now. And the global economy is changing to a knowledge-based economy. There was a time, few decades back, not very long, few decades back, the countries were rich, the countries were prosperous, depending on the amount of natural resources they had. For example, countries which are rich in oil, gas, minerals, metals, they were rich in the world economy. But in the coming economy, that is where most of you are going to live your lives beyond past our age, is the knowledge-based economy, where whether you are in Mumbai, India, or Sydney, Australia, or Tokyo, Japan, or Frankfurt, Germany, or Shanghai, China, or Toronto, Ottawa in Canada, doesn't matter. It is a level playing field. You are equally competitive in this knowledge-based economy, irrespective of where you live in the world. That is one. Number two, the climate change. Climate change does not limit itself to the boundaries of any country. It is a worldwide problem. It affects every single individual living on this planet Earth. Some countries, some people, some societies are affected more than others, but it is a joint responsibility. That is where we have to work together. And that is where you come in. You come in because the more knowledgeable you are, the better you can contribute to the conversation, the better you can contribute to the decision-making process. And beforehand, a quick background. I was born in India. I was born in the state of Karnataka. I studied in 7 or 8 different places in Karnataka. I did my engineering from Bangalore University, my MBA from Karnataka University. I started as an engineer. Then I was with the Defense Research Development Organization in Delhi for a few months. Then I was with Karnataka State Financial Corporation, financing new small industries. Then I had my own small manufacturing company, manufacturing granite slabs in Karnataka. Then I was in the Middle East countries for 6 years, in country Oman and in Qatar, for 6 years promoting industries in these countries. Then we came to Canada. I started as an investment advisor with a big bank. Then I moved to a defense technology company as an executive. After 6 years there, one final day, we decided let's enter politics. So I entered politics in 2015. I've been elected 3 times. So the point is that I did not have the wealth. I did not have the background. I did not have the connections people think are required for success. All I had was the education that I had in India that was provided by my very hardworking parents. That education is the only asset I had. Even now, that's the biggest asset I have. And that is that education that gives on giving returns, has been giving returns throughout my life. So the point is, anyone, any part of the world, whatever the background, my grandfathers were farmers in a small place in Karnataka. So we don't have land, we don't have buildings, we don't have properties, we don't have wealth. But education was available, is available to almost everybody. And that is something you can build on throughout your life, wherever you live in the world. That's all I want to say. Now I want to invite questions from you. I'll try to address them to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you so much, MP Chandra Arya, for this amazing address. And I think that story run through gave us just a thrill through the spine, that it's such an amazing story to listen to. Let's have the first question from MP Preksha Mahesh. Preksha, over to you.
Namaste sir, I am Preksha Mahesh. I study in Daftal's Foundation for Learning in Bengaluru, Karnataka. So my question to you is, since you've been in both India and Canada, what is the major difference between the politics in India and Canada? Which do you think is better? And even in Canada, what is one positive aspect of the politics and what is one negative aspect?
Good. Namaskara. Kannada Bharata?
Bharat sir.
I did speak in Canada for 55 seconds in Canadian Parliament. I never knew that people all over India, and especially for the people from Karnataka, would all listen to it. I had no idea. But India is such a beautiful country. We have so many different languages, so many different culture. We have different heritages. We have different practices, and we get to celebrate that. And that leads to one of the things you asked. One of the beautiful things about Canada is we are multicultural. That is, I can come from Kannada speaking place in Karnataka. Somebody can come from Chinese Mandarin speaking place in China. or somebody can come from South Africa or Kenya, or somebody can come from Brazil. We all come to this wonderful country, and we get to retain our own culture. We get to retain our own language. We get to celebrate our heritage and share it with others. That is the beauty of Canada. Now, coming to the politics in Canada and India, fundamentally, the political structure is the same. Canada and India, we both got the same structure of democracy from UK. So fundamentally, it's the same. You have Lok Sabha, same thing we call as House of Commons. You have Rajya Sabha, we call them senators. Like the members of Lok Sabha in India, we also have to get elected by the people of different constituencies in Canada. So the structure is the same. The difference is, in Canada, we have limited political parties. We can say we have 4 political parties, 2 of them dominant. Only 2 political parties have governed Canada for the last 150 years. So the structure of democracy, the structure of the institutions is the same. How they operate is different. In India, my understanding is there are a large number of political parties. Now there's one dominant party and 2 dominant parties and several other smaller parties. The other common thing between Canada and India is, because we are a democracy, everybody has the right to speak, everybody has right to have their own opinion, everybody has got right to express their opinion, their views on anything within the political democratic structure. So that is again common between India and Canada. Sometimes Canadians say, oh my God, you politicians, you fight like cats and dogs and cats. But the same thing happens in India, the same thing happens in the United Kingdom, and I'm sure the same thing happens in Australia too. Now, when you ask for politics, it is not limited to parliament. It is not limited to political parties. Politics also includes the society. The difference between India and Canada is, we in Canada, we have got a very strong society. The people, Canadians, are involved in every level of governance, and their opinion frequently makes us change our own policies because Canadians give their inputs. Let me put it in a very simple thing. Canadians are very active in schools, in the Parents Teachers Council. Canadians are very active in raising money for environment, for sick people, for the seniors. Canadians volunteer in hospitals, senior homes, everywhere. And Canadians don't hesitate to pick up the phone or write an email to the MP. Just to give an example, the number of people in my constituency is just 120,000. You may laugh at it. Yes, a member of parliament average is around 1 lakh to 120,000. Compared to in India, it can run to a couple of millions of people, 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs. But the small population has so much of opinion that with my 6 assistants, I still need more manpower to cater to the services that are demanded by my constituents, to listen to their opinion on any legislation that comes in the parliament, to listen and interact with them on any bills or policy proposals we propose. The participation of Canadians in the political process has kept the discipline amongst the political parties. That much I can say.
Dhanyawad, Guru sir.
The next question comes from an MP Carla. Carla, over to you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yep.
Hello? Okay. So my name is Carla Torre and I come from Spain. I'm in 11th grade and my school is Episcopal. And my question for you today is, what is something unexpected that happened on the first year of you working as a parliament member? Thank you, sir.
Okay. I was new to politics. I got elected, so everything was new. But most of the things that was there was expected, so that was okay. Meeting new people every day, discussing about different policy proposals, different legislation, it was all expected. But what was unexpected was the pressure on me when it comes to supporting a piece of legislation in the parliament, when about 50% of the people wants me to support it, about 50% of the people wants me to oppose it. Both people who support a particular bill, a particular policy, or a particular legislation, they have the legitimate right reasons to support or to oppose. And when I am confronted with that, that was, I never thought that sometimes it comes down to me as an individual, as with my views, my opinion, my background, my knowledge, my expertise, have to make a decision. So I know whatever decision I make, 50% of the people will not like it, because 50% support it, 50% oppose it, and I'm caught in the middle. That was an unexpected but a good wake-up call.
Thank you, sir.
MP Disha Prashant. Disha, over to you.
Hello, sir. I am MP Disha Prashant Gupta from Ahmednagar. Actually, my question was, how difficult has it been for you as an MP, as an Indian, to be an MP in Canada, and what are the hardships that you face?
Okay, you know what? Absolutely no difficult as a person of Indian origin to get elected as a member of parliament. In my constituency, when I got elected, the people of Indian origin was just 4%. I repeat, people of Indian origin were just 4%. Close to 65% of, if you want to speak the color of the skin, to put that way, 65% of my residents in my constituency are white people. So whether you're from India, whether you're from Spain, whether you're from China, whether you're from Brazil, or whether you're from Tanzania, doesn't matter for Canadians. So I had no difficulty in getting elected just because I'm a person of Indian origin. Talking of which, people of Indian origin, we just are 4% in entire Canada, but we have about 20 members of parliament in a parliament of 338. So 20 people of Indian origin have been elected as members of parliament, though the entire Indo-Canadian population is just 4%.
MP Sumera.
Hello, sir. Myself, Sumira Mikalsam, MP of 13th Parliament, Emirates Junior College, Hyderabad, Telangana. My question is, in our modern times, teens acquire maturity earlier than the previous generations. So what reforms can be brought for the teens to acquire more active in democratic politics?
You're absolutely right, Sumera. What I've seen in my own life is that every new generation are more knowledgeable. Sometimes I'm scared to talk to youngsters today because they have got much more knowledge than I have. One of the reasons is that the amount of information you have access to is enormous. When we are growing up, there was no computers. I did my engineering, I did my MBA without touching a computer. So we did not even have, other than a couple of newspapers, we did not have any publications available. There was no trade magazines available. We have to go to a library to read a magazine. So we did not have access to information, and the new generation in this tiny piece, they have the world with them. There was a time when we did not know anything. We had to ask our parents or grandparents or uncles or our aunts. Today, you ask God, Google. So the point is that the new generation is very knowledgeable. That is the reason why let me talk about in Canada. We constantly listen to the youngsters. Many schools calls me as a member of parliament, can you come and talk to our student? So that is one level. I always interact with the schools in my constituency. Go to them, talk to them, listen to their opinion. Then we have youth councils. Youth councils, national level also we have, who advise the Prime Minister of Canada directly. So we have that. So, and even in my riding, it is the youth who are very active when it comes. Last year at our election, almost 40 to 50% of the people who campaigned were students. So youth interaction is very high, and that we encourage, because from them we can listen to their concerns, listen to their thinking. Sometimes many new things come from the new generation. It is quite obvious. So the interaction level should continue to increase. This World Teen Parliament is one of the such forums. And this is the kind of forum. Now I'm listening to your questions. You are in India, I'm in Canada, somebody is in Spain. So we listen to you. So I get a feeling that, okay, what are the kind of thought process that is going on amongst the new generation in other parts of the world. So this is important, and it will continue.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a privilege to talk with you.
Khushbu Kumari.
Greetings, sir. So my question is, since Canada has also been a colony of Europeans, so how do you compare Canada and India in terms of post-COVID independence development?
Canada, I will not categorize Canada as a colony. Unlike India, India was a colony of a British Empire. Canada has had, even now we have indigenous population, small compared to the size of Canada. I think the indigenous population is just around 4% of the entire population. Canada was formed by what we call as settlers. The people from Europe, mostly from United Kingdom and France, they came to Canada and they developed trade there, they settled there, they made what Canada is today. Canada is a sort of new country. India was not a new country. India, even before British, it had different kingdoms, but it was a country that was in existence. Whereas Canada was not in existence till Canada was formed by the settlers. Now, coming to the post-COVID, one of the best things about Canada is how we managed COVID. I can tell you, wonderful. The cooperation from the Canadians, from the people in Canada was so good. They were hand in hand with the government in managing that tough COVID pandemic. The death rate in Canada is low than any other developed country. I don't have statistics from every single country in the world. At least amongst the big developed countries, we have the accurate statistics. We have the very lower death toll because all Canadians came together, all levels of the government, the central government, The state governments, the municipalities, and all the societies, they came together and managed the COVID. Now, post-COVID also, we are adopting the same thing. We may have differences among the political parties on what to do, no, how to do, but the common thing is what to do. The end goal is very common, that we need Canada to be prosperous as it was before COVID. So we are taking measures and it is already yielding results. We got back every single job that was lost due to pandemic. Not only we got back, we got 117% of the jobs that was lost. Today, Canada's unemployment rate is at historically low levels. Again, during pandemic, our unemployment rate was at the highest. Today, after pandemic, we are at historically low levels of unemployment. Our economy is booming. Very big growth we see compared to any other developed countries. So economy is booming. We have got back unemployment rate to be the lowest. So things are managing well as of today. But we don't know about tomorrow or the next year. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you, sir. It clearly depicts that how management can help us to deal with such great problems. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You are so right. At the end of the day, it comes to the management. Like any company, I was in the corporate sector. People may say that the product is not good, the raw material is not good, the quality is not good, or the price is high or low. They can blame anything, but it comes down to one thing, is the management. If the management is not good, doesn't matter how good the underlying things are, it will. If may, I just want to make another point at this stage. Khushbu, you brought the management. As I said, Canada, we are rich, we are prosperous because we have got a lot of natural resources. We have got oil, gas, minerals, metals, etc. There are other countries who have got much more natural resources than Canada, but they are poor. Venezuela is one of the richest in terms of the oil. You know, if that kind of oil, it can be the richest country in the world, but it is one of the poorest countries in the world. They have the natural resources. We too have natural resources, but we are rich and prosperous because how the country is managed. And how the country is managed is dependent on the society. So the country management is controlled or directed by the people, by the society, and that makes the big difference.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for the answer.
Sonal Gupta.
Good morning, sir. I'm really excited to be interacting with you today. My name is Sonal Gupta. I'm a first-year student at the Delhi University. My question to you is, sir, that what are your views on the Canadian education and how it is more beneficial to student success?
If you remember in my opening remarks, I said, whatever I am today is only due to the education. There is no second question to that. Look back in India. I remember when I was younger, I remember a southern state, they started focusing on education, girls' education. And because of their focus in girls' education, the economic growth was high. The level of death mortality rates were lower. The health index went up. So everything changes if education is brought in. Canada has got one of the best education systems in the world because our son studied in the Indian system. He studied in the Delhi public school when he was in the Middle East. While in the Middle East, he also studied the British system. And when he came to Canada, he studied the Canadian system. So as a parent, I know I grew up in India, so I know the Indian system. I also know it from the angle of our son, the Indian system. We have seen the British system, we have seen the Canadian system. So Canadian system, in my view, is good because of two reasons. In physics, math, and science general, a Canadian student may not be able to compete with an Indian student. A high school student may not be able to compete with Indian student when it comes to math or science. I agree. However, by the time a Canadian finishes his high school, he or she has got a much better personality than many other students across the world. The reason is education. What they teach is not just what is in the syllabus, not what is the formulas for the chemistry class or the rules of physics or the mathematical algebra, geog. They're important, but what they teach is they pick up a subject. They ask the students to analyze. So analysis of anything is part of the student culture. So that brings in the totally different view how a subject or an issue they should look at. We can all read books and memorize the chapters and write an exam and get 99 out of 100. But you pick up a chapter, whatever the chapter is, analyze what it means. Research, analysis, that is important. That's what the Canadian system focuses on. The second part of Canadian system is for you to finish your high school, you have to do 40 hours of volunteer work. That is built in. That is, you have to volunteer in the society. You have to go to a hospital or a senior's home, or you have to do some volunteer work. Is built into the system of high schools. I know many students, though the requirement is just 40 hours, they do hundreds of hours of volunteer work. Because once they start volunteer, they understand the significance of what they're doing, the kind of skills they get, the kind of knowledge they get, the kind of connections they get, the kind of network they get by volunteering and working. That makes students spend more time in getting. So the overall student who comes out of high school in Canada, they're very strong, mature individuals.
Thank you so much, MP Chandra Arya, sir. Since we have to take the last question, so rather than taking the last question, we would want to take your message for teenagers across the world, that why should teenagers be a part of parliaments? Why should they look at parliaments? Why should they be a part of the democratic process? And how can the World Teen Parliament play a more active role in empowering teenagers across the world?
Okay, one thing is, number one, knowledge. Once teenagers like you are knowledgeable on any issue, that means that you can contribute better. See, without knowledge, when people talk, is just empty air. However, when you talk with knowledge, you're actually making a positive contribution. Whatever your views are, that may or may not be accepted by all, but you're part of the conversation. You're part of the process. The process is as important as the end. Because, again, coming back to Canadians, the consultation that we have with every Canadian, from youth to the seniors, that process of engaging and having consultations with them makes us better policymakers. So you being a part of the World Teen, you've already started on that journey. You're already amongst the selected small percentage of youth, teenagers in the world. You've already made that grade because you already are involved, are participants in the process, which is much more important. We can sit, watch, play some video games, watch some movies, and have opinion by watching YouTube, have opinion about everything in the world. But meaningful conversation. You may have learned one or two things from what I talked. At the same time, I have learned several things from talking to you, from your questions. I know what you're thinking. I know I've heard the kind of opinion you may have or the kind of answers you're looking. So I too have learned a lot through this process. And that is where forums like this World Teen Parliament is important. And I thank the organizers who have set this up and bringing you all. There is no end to it. There's no end to getting involved in any process. It can be World Teen Parliament, it can be volunteering and helping some poor people, whether in India or any other country, or you can advocate for a better climate policies, or you can advocate for better education policies, or you can do anything, anywhere, but getting involved, being part of the process is the most important, and that is what you are doing.
Thank you so much, MP Chandra Arya, for sharing the time and being here with us today. We have actually had a very long list of questions, but since we had limited time, so thank you so much for being with us at the World Teen Parliament.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and tuning in. I would request all the teen MPs and influencers to please stay on the call, and I would ask the technical team to conclude the YouTube live. Just give us a moment. I would request everyone who's there on the call to please stay back on the call.